So as I told you, once after that configuration is performed, if you come to HANA Studio, here go to the data provisioning option. If you go to quick view, and when you go to data provisioning here, select your HANA database. And you can see that your source system selected, target system is selected, and here are all those three tables which I explained yesterday: DD0 to L, DD0 to T, DD08L. For all these three tables, the replication is already completed, which is mandatory for us. Okay, now you can proceed with your replication of application tables, but before that, I just need to start this configuration because I stopped it yesterday. So to start the configuration which we have created in SLT system, just go to LTRC transaction. LTRC, we have all the configuration data, which we call it as LT replication server cockpit, where once after configurations are done by using that web-based utility, you can do monitoring from here. It's logging in. So in case if your replication is stopped, in what is the meaning of replication stopped? It's basically there is a master job, background job. If the background job is stopped, you need to start it again so that you can continue with your replications. It's taking a lot of time. Just 1 minute. I'll connect to a mobile hotspot. Okay, just a minute, it's still taking some time. So let us go to this transaction LTRC, this LT replication server cockpit. See, every configuration we do will have an ID. We call it as mass transfer ID, system generated ID. You select it from this list, execute. So here if you go to administration data, here you can see configuration is stopped as I told you. You can start the configuration, means your job will start, the background job will start. So it will show you that status is running, configuration status is running. So there's a background job running there. So now you can proceed with your data loading or even replication also. So let us see, suppose now I want to load the data for a table called say KNA1. Just click on load button, and here you have list of tables. Search for the table. So I'm searching the table KNA1, selecting it, click on add. You can select multiple tables at once, no restriction there, you have that flexibility. Click on finish. Now you can see that it's showing that KNA1 table loading is scheduled. Shortly a background job will be assigned and data loading will start, and that will also be shown in this LTRC transaction. You can see that in this LTRC it's showing that KNA1 load table no replication. It's only loading, no replication, means after this loading is completed, if any new records inserted, existing record updated, those changes will not be reflected. They won't be replicated. Okay, so let us see that how that replication is taking place here. So you don't need to do anything, just wait for a few seconds here while you'll be seeing that the loading started, and just hardly in few seconds loading will be completed. If it's completed, it will show you that it's executed there. So that particular table you can find in that schema. What is the target schema selected there? That was the schema which was created at the time of uh, configuration part. See, this is the KN1 table. Table created, but data is not yet loaded. And default, remember that all these replicated tables will be created as column store tables only. So that they can build the models on top of these tables directly and go for reporting. Ultimately, you are replicating these tables for modeling purpose only. You want to do analysis. So as we are doing this very first time, and that usually takes a little more time comparatively. Once process everything initiated, then later on replication happens quickly. Almost 10,000 records will be loaded per second. See what is showing now? Load is in process and executed. Just go to this table and refresh. You'll find all the records here. See how simple is this mechanism? You just once after configuration is done, loading, it's pretty simple process. Let us take another table. Example LFA1. You can select multiple tables at once, no restriction. For LFA1, load is scheduled. So we have that LFA1 table created, that schema. Now shortly you can see the data is loaded. So if you go with option A where you set up SLT server separately, definitely performance will be even better than this. Here I went with option B in our scenario. See it's executed. Now right click LFA1 table, open content. That's it. Oh, understand how replication happens. Uh, just let me take a custom table. In source system, I'm taking a custom table. The ECC system. I'm just showing one custom table. Going to SE16. There's a table with name ZMyCust. And look at this table, how many records we have. There are more than 200 entries. Let me change this. See, there are 214 records. Now I'm going to schedule replication for this table. Let us see what happens. I'm going with replicate now. ZMyCast. Now when a replication is scheduled, if you go to LTRC transaction here, you can clearly differentiate between the table for which load is scheduled and replication is scheduled. For those tables, replication schedule, you'll find logging table and even a trigger. Trigger is also activated. So in that replication now, as of now, its initial load is going on there. So load completed. You should find 214 records here. That's done. Now this will change to replication in process. For this ZMyCast table. So meaning of that is replication in process means whenever some changes happens in the source table, like a new record is inserted, existing record updated, those changes will be replicated into HANA database instantly because we have selected real-time replication option. That's why. See what is showing now? Replication is in process. While the replication is in process, see what happens. In the source table, I'm inserting a new record number 215. Something, saving it. So once record is created there, come to HANA database and refresh the table. Check the data here. Instantly you'll find that record here. See that record number 215. Instantly you'll get it. So that is what is real-time replication is all about. See that. So not only for new records, even existing record you update, that will be replicated. See 216 records, we have this first record I'm updating. So number of records will be same, but this change record will be shown at the last here at the end. See that one? Okay, so if you want to temporarily stop this replication, you can suspend replication. So while the replication is suspended, replication doesn't happen, but you can resume it later on. Because when you do a suspension, you go and verify this LTRC, still you have logging table intact and trigger intact as it is. So in the source, if I do something like if I'm inserting some new record or anything like that, these changes are not replicated into HANA now because your replication is suspended. Say two more records we inserted actually there. Now it should be 218, but it will show you only 216 because your replication is suspended. So you want to continue, what you do is resume replication. So now replication is resumed. Now go to this table, refresh, showing those two records also. So in case if you want to stop it permanently, the replication, you click on stop, and click on finish. The replication will be stopped. So meaning of that is system will delete those logging tables as well as triggers now. Means the complete entry from this LTRC transaction will be removed. See that? No more replications there. But whatever we replicated already, that will be there as it is in HANA database. Like that. So what you need to understand there is basically that logging table and trigger are the one which are responsible for identifying those changed records or new records and load into HANA, replicate into HANA. See, whenever we schedule table for replication, system will create a logging table and trigger. So when you insert a new record into that application table, trigger will fire and the trigger will put the record into logging table. And there, while the replication is happening, there is something called read module, which is a program that reads the data from logging table instead of from application table. And logging table is having only those new records or changed records, and those records will be loaded into HANA. They will be processed. Once they process successfully, they will be removed from the logging tables. So that's how your replications are taking place there. So you want to stop replication permanently, completely for this system, then here go to administration data, stop configuration. So that's it. No more replication takes place. When you want to start it, you can start it again. And for the developers, they also have that LTRS transaction, LTRS, where they can do that customization settings if needed. It is also available. And they can use the same SLT system to replicate the data from multiple sources, from ERP, from CRM, a number of sources, no restriction there. So that's how SLT as a replication technology can be utilized. Most of the customers, they are using this SLT. So particularly when their requirement is loading the data from SAP applications, default they're opting for SLT. Easy option for them. It's very, very easy compared to other replication technologies. Okay, so mostly this is important. DX is not such an important thing because very rarely you find customers opting for DXE. Anyhow, I'll just show you how we can do the configuration of DXE. So if needed, try to perform. The DXE, direct extractor connection, is another replication technology. But this DXE doesn't need any software as such, and no licensing is required. You have SAP applications like ERP and want to load the data into HANA, you can use all the built-in facilities and establish connectivity between that SAP application and HANA database and start loading the data. In fact, what they do is they actually use extractor-based mechanism which they use to load the data into BW. So means whatever the mechanism they follow to load the data into BW from SAP ERP system, the same as it is the mechanism they use it here. So if you want to implement DXE, remember that BW is mandatory. Without BW, you can't implement DXE at all. And then comes the question, why SAP has given this? When BW is mandatory, look at this. BW is a must, and that too, your BW version must be minimum 7.0. Then only you'll be able to implement DXC. The reason why they've done it is if you go to your SAP applications, any ABAP based SAP application you take, look at the components, the software components. Go to status. Here you can see the software component is SAP underscore BW. So it's embedded there. Every SAP application will have this. Every what you call ABAP based SAP application will have this. Embedded BW. So when you have already embedded BW there, SAP thought, why can't we utilize it? That's when they came up with this DX. A small company, they have SAP ERP, want to load the data into HANA. The basic replication requirements they have, they can opt for this DX. So your work is in SLT is almost 98% your job, only 2% will be taken care by modeling people. But here your job is very little and most of the activities will be done by the modeling people or our developers. Because they have to do a lot of things. Okay. So if you see this one on the left hand side, you have that business suite system. So in the business suite system, we have that embedded BW. Okay, so what we have to do as administrators is we need to do this required configuration from source system to the HANA database, the connectivities and all that we need to establish, and some settings also. So what is our job is two things. Some configuration settings you need to perform in HANA database as well as in business suite system. Both you have to do. So first today I'll show you how we can do this in HANA database, and then we'll see how we can do this configuration in source system. Okay, first let us start with SAP HANA database. In SAP HANA database for DXE, the first thing what you have to do is a couple of services you need to check. One is Access Engine. Anyhow, they're all enabled, but still anyhow, it's better to check them. Another one is Web Dispatcher. So check Access Engine, the configuration tab. Access Engine should have that instances value set to 1, and even Web Dispatcher also. Value should be 1. And to verify that, just go to the browser. Here, just use that hostname colon port number. That's it. You should get a message like this: Access Engine is up and running. Once that is done, then now you need to import the delivery unit. That is a ready-made delivery unit. So go to File, Import, Delivery Unit, select it, click on Next. Select your HANA database. Next. Choose server, and here is the file, HANA underscore DXE, the first one. Select that HANA underscore DXE, but that's there default in the server. At the time of installation, it comes automatically. Nothing more you need to do. And click on Finish. So once that is done, go back to your configuration tab. Here we have a parameter. There's a parameter with the name application underscore list. So go to that parameter application underscore list, double click, open. Here you need to give a new value, libxsdxe, libxsdxe. That's a fixed value which we need to give. That's basically a DXE application. Save it. So once that is done, now you go back to this browser. Here we need to test it using this URL. We are just checking that DXE application is working or not. So /sap/hana/dxe/dxe.xscfunc. Just run this. It will ask for user ID password for testing. You can test with system user. You can observe that HANA direct extractor connection service is up and running. So once that is done, then what you do is in HANA database, you need to create a user. Say example, I am giving this username DXE user. Just giving the password. And the only role I am granting to this user is monitoring. Only monitoring. That's it. Now, one more. You know that at the time of creation of user, there's a schema created. If you want, you can use that schema for replication, or else what you can do is you can create a new schema if you want. Say I'm creating a schema with the name DXE schema. Just create schema. But owned by that user, which of the user we have created, that is DXE user. Owned by. So now you can see that schema is created, which is owned by this user, DXE user. Now once that is done, go to your business suite system, that ERP system, CR, whatever it is. Go to that, and the first thing you need to do is you need to create RFC. Go to SM59. You need to choose this option, HTTP connection to external server, and create a new one. You can just give some name, like something like this. So DXE HANA connection, something RH or whatever it is, which is basically connection to HANA. And here you specify the target host. The service number is nothing but that port. Whatever the port we use here, and that path prefix is this, right from here. So that's the path prefix you need to give. And then in the logon, you need to provide that user. Choosing the basic authentication, the user created there should be used. There is DXE user, and whatever the password you give. This connection should work. That's okay. Now we have RFC, we have schema, but we need to make the system to know that, okay, use this RFC, this schema. So to do that, go to transaction SA38. There's a built-in program given to you, SAP_RS_admin_maintain. Run this program. So basically using this program, you're updating a table by specifying that RFC destination. Whatever the RFC destination we have created, that is RH01. So if you're doing it first time, do insert, because earlier I did this configurations, that's why I'm going with update. Otherwise you go with insert. And similarly we need to give schema, that is PSA to HDB schema. So that's our DXE schema only. And one more parameter is also there, PSA to HDB. So that you need to set to global. That's it. So these are the parameter settings you need to perform, and just leave it there. Now you have done required configuration settings in HANA database, as well as configuration settings in your source, that business suite system. And now we can ask the developers or the modeling people, they can proceed with their replications. So they use that mechanism called extractor mechanism, and they replicate the data. That's their job, that you don't worry, because that if you want to do, you need to know how the replications happens in BW. Exactly the same mechanism they follow to load the data into HANA. That's not our job, that you don't worry at all. And another thing you need to remember here is it's only scheduled replications, no real time here in DXE. So very few customers are opting, but it's a very simple configuration. You can see that hardly 10 minutes it will take. You can do it easily if needed. Most of the times you don't come across that situation, but if needed, you do this one.